Howdy, howdy, howdy. It's me, Woody from Toy Story 4. No, I'm just kidding. It's me, Mr. Ernst. What's up, Cardinals? We are going to look at, real quick, how to do this assignment here. And this assignment is all about the square root and factoring. So being able to factor something and being able to take the square root of something. Now, this does have a special rule to it that we're going to talk about square roots that we really haven't talked about before. For example, if I was to take the square root of 9, and I asked you what that is, your answer is likely going to be something along the lines of 3. However, this actually has two answers that we really haven't delved into too much, because most of what we've been doing with the square root was with the Pythagorean theorem, which means that distance is always going to be positive. However, the answer to this is actually 3 or negative 3. And that's going to be a huge factor as we go into this, that 3 or negative 3 can be the square root of 9. To give you an example of that, if I have, wait a second, hold on. Oh my goodness. Okay, anyways, if I have 3 times 3, that gives me 9, which means that 3 is a square root of 9. But if I also have negative 3 times negative 3, I also get 9. Or in other words, 3 squared and negative 3 squared. See what I mean? So the square root of 9, positive 9, can be this, 3, or it can be negative 3. So we have to take that into account when we are looking at this assignment as we kind of go forward with this. Cool? So the very first problem is just simply use symbolic method to solve these equations. All this is asking you to do, take the square root of both sides. On this side, you have x plus 1 squared, and on the right side, you have a square number, a 9. So you're going to be taking the square root of this side over here, and you'll take the square root of this side. The square root of x plus 1 is simply going to be x plus 1. It essentially causes this to cancel out, leaving me with just this. The square root of 9, this is where this is going to get a little bit tricky because, like I said before, this can be the square root of 9, this can be a positive 3, or it can be negative 3. So it's kind of like branching into two paths. Essentially, we're going to have this equation where the square root was positive 3, but we're also going to have this equation over here where the square root, we have x plus 1 is equal to where the square root came out to be negative 3. I'm going to move this up just a little bit. So we have from this, when we take the square root of both sides, it kind of branches off into two different timelines here. We have positive 3 and negative 3. The answer to this one, what number plus 1 gives me 3? It's going to be 2. And then over here, what number plus 1 gives me negative 3? This needs to be negative 4. So my answers for this are x is equal to 2 and negative 4. Bam. And that's the answer to the first one. Oof. That... Okay. So that's the answer to the first one. X equal to 2 and negative 4. Cool? If we wanted to, for example, check our answer, and I switched over to... If I switched over to Desmos, there we go. If I switch over to Desmos here and I type this in, we have x plus 1, close parenthesis, raised to the power of 2 is equal to 9. I can see the 2 points that this cross is going to be 2 and negative 4, which is the same as, on this page, 2 and negative 4. So the graph kind of just confirms that we're right there. Each one of these problems is going to be solved the same way. So in other words, when you get to this one, take the square root of this side and the square root of this side, take the square root of this side and the square root of this side. Just keep in mind that you're going to have to branch this off into the positive and the negative. For each one of these, you're going to have two answers. It's not just the positive answer anymore, okay? So each one of these, you're going to get x is equal to blank and blank. And then x is equal to blank and, blank and blank. Okay? Down here for C, on problem C, it does give you a... sorry, just a quick sup of coffee. It does give you a different strategy, and it says you can use either Kaylee's method or Anita's method. And all Anita's method, these ones, number 1 and number 2, these are going to be solved just like the problems that we just did above, okay? They are the same setup, the exact same type of problem. That's all you're doing. Use the square root to get rid of this, okay? With these problems, all you're doing is basically factoring these guys out. And we've done this before. This is just review. Parentheses, we have an x. Oops. We have an x and an x. And what we're looking at here is we're trying to find a number, what number adds to get 8 and multiplies to get -9. So what two numbers, that's going to go here and here, what two numbers will add to get the number +8 and multiply to get the number -9? And if you're pretty quick with math, I'll give you a second to think about it. Time's up. The answer to this is going to be -9. Oh, wait. No, sorry. Whoop. It's going to be +9 and -1. For example, if I add -1 and +9, I get 8. If I multiply -1 and +9, I get -9. So that would be my answer there. From here, this is equal to 0. From here, you solve this just like we used to do beforehand, knowing that this multiplied by this means that one of these two has to be 0. Either this one's 0 or this one is 0. Because if they're multiplying together and we're getting a product of 0, one of these has to be 0. So at this point, all you need to do, you're going to set x minus 1 equal to 0, and you're going to set x plus 9 equal to 0. And then you need to solve for x in both instances. Just like above, you're going to have two x answers. So for example, x minus 1 is equal to 0. The only answer that's going to work here is 1. And then x plus 9 is equal to 0. -9 is the only number that works there. So my final answer, x is equal to 1 and -9. Cool? Again, this is all stuff that we did before. We did this in unit, I think, 4. We did that in unit 4, okay? So again, all you're doing, finding those x values for the bottom two and those ones there. Cool? If you do have any more questions, please let me know in the comments or send me a message or anything like that. And yeah, good luck. Bye.